factors of a number. What is meant by factors of a number? Or how do we get factors of a number? For example, if you are given number 12, how would you get its factors? Let's start by looking at that number 12. If you get 12 and you divide it by 1, what do you get? You're going to get 12. If you divide 12 by 2, you will get 6. If you divide 12 by 3, you will get 4. If you divide 12 by 4, you get 3. But if you divide 12 by 5, you will get 2, but there is a remainder 2. All these are numbers that you divide 12 with. When we look at those numbers which divide 12 and there is no remainder, those numbers are referred to as factors of that number. For example, factors of number 12 will be 1, 2, 3, 4, but 5 is not a factor of number 12. So factors of a number mean those numbers which divide that number without a remainder. If there is a remainder, then that number is not a factor of the number whose factors you are required to determine. In other words, in this case, 5 is not a factor of 12. Are there other factors of number 12? Let's go on and divide 12 by 6. When we divide 12 by 6, we will get 2. So 6 is a factor of number 12 because when we divide 12 by 6, there is no remainder. How about if we divide 12 by number 7? If we divide 12 by 7, we are going to get 1, but there is a remainder 5. So 7 is not a factor of 12. We divide 12 by 8, there will be 1, remainder 4. Again, 8 is not a factor of 12. If we divide 12 by 9, we are going to get 1, but there is a remainder 3. And if we divide 12 by 10, there is 1, remainder 2. Again, 10, 9, they are not factors of number 12. 12 divided by 11, we get 1, remainder 1. So 11 is not a factor of 12. But when we divide 12 by 1, we get 12 and there is no remainder. So let's look at those numbers which divide 12 exactly and there is no remainder. One of them is number 1 because there is no remainder. Number 2, there is no remainder. Number 3 is a factor of 12. 4 is a factor of 12, but 5 is not a factor of 12. 6 is a factor of 12. And 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are not factors of 12. The other number is 12 itself. I think here I ought to have divided. I think I made a mistake here. I ought to have divided 12 by itself to get 1. So the next factor of 12 is itself, number 12. So when we look at factors of a number such as 12, we find that the factors of number 12 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and itself. These are the factors of number 12. So remember, factors of a number are those numbers which divide that number without a remainder. Factors of a number are those numbers which divide that number without a remainder. If there is a remainder, those numbers are not factors of that number. So understand that one point. And you can see what I've done. I've started with the simplest number, which is number 1. I divide that particular number by 1. I get itself. Then I go to number 2. Then I go to number 3. And all that, trying to find out whether that number divides the given number exactly without a remainder. If there is a remainder, then that number is not a factor of number 12. Now let's investigate further these factors of 12. For example, let's look at 2. If I'm given 2, I can get 1 times 2. In other words, if I divide 2 by 1, I get 2. And if I divide 2 by 2, I get 1. So number 2 has only 2 factors, 1 and 2. Let's look at number 3. 3 again has only 2 factors, because if I divide 3 by 1, I get 3. I divide 3 by 2, it's not possible. The next possible number is 3 by 3, where I get 1. The reason why I say 3 divided by 2 is not possible is because when I divide 3 by 2, I get 1 and there is a remainder 1. So it does not divide the number 3. 2 does not divide 3 without a remainder. There is a remainder 1. So 2 is not a factor of 3. So here I get the factors of number 3 are 1 and itself. Let's look at 4. When I get 4, I divide by 1, I get 4. When I get 4, I divide by 2, I get 2. When I get 4 divided by 3, I get 1 remainder 1. So 3 is not a factor of 4. But when I get 4 divided by 4, I get 4. So the factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. There are 3 factors. Let's look at number 5. 5, when I divide 5 by 5, I get 1. When I divide 5 by 2, I get 2, remainder 1. When I divide 5 by 4, I get 1, remainder 1. So the reason why I'm not writing those ones down is because 2, 3, and 4 are not factors of 5. Because when I attempt to divide 5 by those numbers, there is always a remainder. So 2, 3, and 4 are not factors of 5. So the next number is 5. So when I divide 5 by 1, of course, I ought to have started by that one. I get 5. So the factors of number 5 are 1 and itself. Now, there are those numbers with only 2 factors. One of them is 1, the other one is itself. Those numbers with only 2 factors, 1 and itself, are referred to as prime numbers. Prime numbers. So which other prime numbers do we have? Is 6 a prime number? It's not, because it got more than 2 factors, 1 included. It's got 1, it's got 2, it's got 3, and it's got itself, 6. How about 7? 7 is a prime number because it's got only two factors, 1 and 7. So the prime factors include, or the prime numbers include 2, there is 3, there is 5, there is 7, 8 is not, 9 is not, 10 is not, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. You see, each and every time I ask myself, other than 1 and itself, is there any other number that can divide that number and there is no remainder? That's how you get prime numbers. So remember, prime numbers are those numbers with only two factors. Two factors. They are called prime numbers. Now, is 1 a prime number? 1 is not a prime number because it's got only one factor. 1 divided by 1 is 1. It has only one factor. So it is not a prime number. So understand, a prime number is a number with only two factors, 1 and itself. Now, how about those other numbers which are not prime numbers and it's not 1? They've got more than two factors. A number such as 4. It's got 3 factors. Those numbers, other than those numbers with more than 2 factors, they are referred to as composite numbers. Composite numbers. So remember, composite numbers are those numbers with more than 2 factors. And what are they? Let's see. 3. We start from 4. We go to 6. We go to 8. We go to 9. We go to 10. We go to 12, and so forth. Notice that prime numbers and composite numbers are different. There is nothing that they share in common. The only thing is that prime numbers have got only 2 factors, 1 and itself, while composite numbers have got more than 2 factors. Understand that. 1 is not a prime number because it's got only 1 factor. So in this lesson, we've been able to look at, number 1, what is the meaning of factors of a number? Factors of a number are those numbers which divide that number without a remainder. Those are factors of a number. When a number has only 2 factors, 1 and itself, it's referred to as a prime number. 1 is not a prime number because it has only 1 factor. When a number has more than 2 factors, it's called a composite number. So, distinguish between a prime number and a composite number. You should be able to say what is meant by factors of a number, and you should be able to clearly state that 1 is not a prime number on account of the fact that it's got only 1 factor. And that brings us to the end of this lesson. In the next lesson, we are going to look at the divisibility test.